Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to another EVE Online discussion video. In today's video I want to talk a little bit about the bot challenge in EVE Online. The main reason why I am making this video is that CCP released a dev blog on their efforts combating bots in the game. It's been out for a little bit, but I've been thinking about the topic a little bit. I also mentioned it in EVE Talk that CCP is planning an Unholy Rage 2, which is usually a massive ban wave of bots, and all of that got me to thinking about the bots challenges in EVE Online, and of course about the impact of bots and the potential impact of Unholy Rage 2 on the market in EVE Online. So to start out with, let's perhaps take a quick look at the dev blog. You can always go to eveonline.com, press the articles button, go down a little bit, and here you will see some dev blogs with the latest one, security update for Q4 2018. Now, the bots in EVE Online is definitely a topic that knows a seasonal trend where CCP comes out with something like a dev blog, like an Unholy Rage, a big action, something like the awesome Concord action where Concord teleported bots to HiSec for execution. That was such a cool event. That was really nice, and that does tend to make the players happy a little bit, knowing that CCP is actively fighting against the bot problem in EVE Online. But CCP does from time to time then tend to slacken on their communication about those efforts. The frustration grows, and eventually the beating of the drum becomes so loud that CCP has to come out with some more answers and some more information. And so this time we have a security update for Q4 of 2018, and I think that this is pretty rare. I don't think that CCP actually gives out that many numbers about banning in the game, but this time they do share with us that since October 1st, and this dev blog was released on December 12th. So no matter what, this should be less than 2.5 months of activities. And in those 2.5 months, they banned 2,300 accounts for hacking, 4,000 accounts for botting, and 2,600 accounts for RMT related activities. That's almost 10,000 accounts banned in 2.5 months. I think that this definitely shows that it's a lot of work for, a relatively smaller, I would say, a game company like CCP, having to check 10,000 accounts on their activities and their suspicions of hacking, botting, and RMT. I think it's a hell of a lot of work, and that is one of the main reasons why at some point, of course, the information that CCP shares with us on the botting problems and their efforts towards botting, does slacken a little bit. Another aspect that CCP always tells us as well is, of course, that they can't share a lot of information about their war against bots because, the bots are listening as well. They can't tell us exactly how they're detecting bots, what kind of checks they're doing in order to recognize the bots, what kind of automation there exists, or even how quickly CCP tends to be able to respond to reports, to new bots being developed and things like that. All that information has to be kept from the players, because otherwise it gets to the bot makers, and that just makes their job that much more difficult. So I think that, I can certainly understand it, that the silence that we sometimes notice from CCP when it comes to botting does not mean that they're not doing anything. They have very good reasons for doing what they are doing. They are sharing a couple of types of bots in this dev blog as well. First of all, we have the faction warfare bots. I think that those are pretty visible and sometimes also get messed with by the faction warfare players. So while it's definitely a known factor, I think it's basically the one that will have the least impact on the game. That is my personal suspicion. I might be wrong on that. The second one is the market bots. I think those are the hardest for CCP to find, because of course anyone that is at least a little bit smart knows that they shouldn't let their market bots do like 1,000 actions in a second, reset 1,000 orders or even 100 orders in a matter of a few seconds, something that no human can do. But once they write that into a bot, I think it's very difficult to distinguish between a market bot and a human that is sitting in Java 4.4 and updating his orders manually. So I think that, the market bot is gonna be one of the hardest ones to track. Then of course we have the anomaly bots. I think that's the one that everybody knows about, the Vexor Navy issue bot, you could say. But it's not only Vexor Navy issues, we're of course also talking about carriers, even super carriers that were teleported by Concord for execution. And then of course the ubiquitous Gila also is very popular, I think, with Anomaly botting. And then one that I was personally not that aware of, it's courier mission bots. I think that it's gonna be very slow progress when it comes to actually making ISK there, but I think the biggest advantage that botters will have here is that just like with the market bot, I think it's going to be very difficult for CCP to actually make the difference between a player running courier missions and a bot running courier missions, because, well, it's not that many actions. It's all pretty slow going, but super straightforward. So another one that's going to be very tricky to track. Now you could say, well, it's pretty simple. Actually, no player does courier missions. They're so boring. Who the hell would do them? But I think that's not entirely accurate. Even I, from time to time, do run courier missions. I like them for building up reputation. For instance, you know, it's very easy to chain in 16 of these courier missions. You can even do level 1s and 2s in the Vexor. It's got a big enough cargo hold. You can then also do the security missions as well from all of the agents that are available there, and you very easily get to 60 missions, which gives you then a storyline, which gives you a boost in your faction rep. So yeah, people actually do run them, myself included, although it's been quite a while. So yeah, the biggest problem I think is indeed that you know, these efforts from CCP stay under the radar quite a lot, and I think that there is nothing more frustrating than a player spotting like a dozen or 2 dozen bots ice mining or running anomalies in a system, reporting all of those bots to CCP, and then seeing in the days and weeks to follow that these guys keep coming online, keep botting in impunity. Must be super frustrating. As I've said, 2 good reasons for that. Number 1, just the sheer amount of work is going to be huge. Number 2, CCP can't exactly tell us all the tricks and everything that they're doing when it comes to fighting the bots. That's just going to give the bots another advantage when it comes to their own development cycle. It's an ongoing war where secrecy definitely plays its part. But I personally do think that CCP might be able to give us at least a little bit more feedback when it comes to the reports that are successful, that are very useful to CCP. And I was thinking perhaps they could do something like a bot hunter kill mark that you could earn if you are the first one to report a certain bot. They do their investigation and it turns out that, yeah, it is indeed a bot that ends up in a ban. At some point in the future, after they do everything they need to do, all of a sudden that player gets rewarded with one of those bot hunter kill marks, showing off that, yeah, indeed, CCP has listened to you and your efforts have been noted by Concord. That bot is gone from the game thanks to your report. I think that could be very cool. Knowing you guys, knowing the EVE Online player base, of course, we gotta be a little bit careful. I'm sure that some people are immediately thinking, well, pretty damn easy. I'm just gonna report Jita local every single day and we'll catch a lot of bots that way. You could, of course, very easily put in a mechanic, let's say 5 reports that turn out to be nothing. Sorry, you're out of that system. You know, you're no longer eligible for those kill marks or something like that, right? I think a small in-game reward, a small token, I'd prefer a kill mark over something like a medal or something like that, but some sort of a feedback mechanic that shows that, yeah, this guy is actively helping CCP to hunt those bots, and CCP actually does do something with all of that information and actually appreciates what those players are doing. Because sometimes, yeah, some players really do put in a lot of effort to find the bots, spot the bots, give a good report, show exactly what they're doing, show the automated behaviors and things like that. They take screenshots, they take videos, and there can be a lot of effort put in by these players, and showing a little bit more that this is appreciated might be cool. But who knows? Perhaps there are, of course, drawbacks to such a system that I'm not seeing right now. Another thing, of course, is to enable 2-factor authentication. I think it's not so much for botting, but for the RMT problem. I think lots of RMT is done from resources grabbed from hacked accounts. Definitely something that everyone should do. And then the final one, actually, in my opinion, the biggest one is Why do these bots exist? Because there is demand, of course. People actually buy ISK from RM tiers, which is something that you, of course, should absolutely not do. You should never do that. I personally don't even understand that. How can you, in a game like EVE Online, where you have a perfectly valid option, a perfectly legal option from the game's perspective, of course, to pay the developer and get ISK from the game. It's through the Plex system, of course. Why would you choose to do RMT? I don't understand it, but there's only one answer, and it's actually the reason why we're here in JITA, because I do want to talk a little bit about that. So let's quickly dock up on this one, which is actually this one, and then we can right click and dock while all those signals are going off there. But there is only one reason why people would risk buying ISK from RM tiers. It's if they get a lot more ISK from the RMT transaction than they would from a Plex transaction with CCP, which, well, brings me to one of the reasons why I'm making this video. During 2 EVE Talks ago, or maybe it was last EVE Talk, I was thinking about that bot problem and that Unholy Rage 2 that is coming to the game, and what kind of an impact do I think it will have for the game? I didn't really have an answer at that time. I'm still not 100% sure, but thinking about it from the devblog's perspective, where there's only one reason why players would buy from RM tiers. It's if they get more ISK for their dollar or their euro. Then there's only one clear answer. Bots and RMT put inflationary pressure on the game. They increase the amount of ISK that is generated to unnatural levels, of course. Bots can create a lot more ISK in the game than players can. And then, of course, the RM tiers as well often do lots of transactions, I think increasing demand for Plex yet again. Both of those should just, push the price of Plex up. And I think that that's where we will see the potential impact of an Unholy Rage. And I think it's going to drive the price down as a result. If all of a sudden CCP grabs a couple thousand bots and boots them from the game, that's that much less ISK flowing in the game. That's that much, of those resources just gone from the game. And I think that that should also mean lower demand for Plex and lower prices. And so, of course, sometimes players do like to speculate on Plex. And if you look at this chart here, pretty damn nice after the latest sale, which did drive the price back down to 3.1 million. Plex are obviously back up, 3.33 million on the chart. But look at JITA itself. 3,430,000 ISK for the sellers. It's a little bit cheaper in the player-owned trade hubs. That is true, but this is definitely a trend at the moment, and I think 3,430,000 is very close to an all-time high. We can quickly actually take a gander at that. If I put in the calculator, then we'll go 3,430,000, and then we'll do that times 500. So that we have 1 month Omega time, more than 1.7 billion ISK for 1 month subscription. That is actually quite a lot of ISK and a very expensive Plex at the moment. And then thinking about, of course, potentially the Unholy Rage coming, thinking about the timing here, I would say that if you plan to sell Plex for ISK, I think this is the time to do so, or at least in the upcoming weeks. We might actually climb a little bit higher. It's pretty obvious that we are going up in price, but we don't know when CCP will do an Unholy Rage 2. That could be weeks, that could be months from now. I think that when that does happen, though, that is going to put some serious down pressure on the Plex prices. And what we're clearly seeing from this 1 year chart as well is that we are back into the normal, more seasonal swings of Plex that are quite normal. We've got highs in the winter here, late December. We're working on another high here, late December. And then look at the starting decline, February, March, throughout the summer to a bottom here, mid-August. Usually you get a June-May bottom in my experience, but this is definitely potentially a double whammy for the price of Plex, I would say, where at the moment we are talking 1.7 billion ISK for 30 days Omega time. If you get an Unholy Rage and if you've got a seasonal downtrend with, well, lower activity from winter through summer, then we should really see that decline, and I do think that we are very close to that. So yeah, Unholy Rage 2.0 bots, I hate them just like all of you guys, I'm sure, just like CCP. I can't wait for that to come, but I also can't wait to actually take advantage of that as well. So I'm actually, I think, priming myself to sell some Plex whenever I do think that it will come to to that high point and when I expect CCP to actually come out with that Anomaly Ridge. I think by that time it will unfortunately be over, which of course could be at any time. So yeah, speculating on the market a little bit as well, trying to take advantage of what the bots are doing to the game. Well, that's all part of EVE Online, of course. And yeah, for this video, I hope that you guys don't RMT. Definitely let me know in the comments what you think about my idea for a sort of a bot hunter kill mark on a successful report. I think that that could be very cool. And otherwise, keep enjoying the game, because despite the fact that the bots are, of course, never good for the game, at this point, I think in EVE Online, we're actually still doing quite okay. And I personally have confidence in CCP that they are indeed doing their best to combat and tackle the bot challenge. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and as always, I'll see you next time.